thank those members of the Friends Leadership Council that are on tonight. Thank you all so much for continuing to support the workshop series, and it's great to see you all here, especially since you helped create a lot of the concepts for these workshops that we've been doing this year. So thanks for being here, and without further ado, we'll jump into it. So welcome, good afternoon. My name is Will Cote. I'm the Parks Director for Parks and Trails New York. And on behalf of the entire Parks and Trails New York team, I want to thank you all for joining us for the 5th workshop in our 2021 Friends to Friends series, created specifically to support friends groups through the sharing of best practices, programming, and of course, some collaboration. This series was specifically designed for friends groups of New York State parks and historic sites. And so I want to thank New York State Parks for helping us provide today's workshop. This series really has focused on featuring experts and panelists on a variety of topics designed to increase the capacity and impact of friends organizations and provide opportunities for friends to network and share resources and expand their impact on the public lands that you all champion day in and day out. Today's workshop, we are going to be diving into best practices for using Instagram to support friends groups. And we're really going to be examining the basics, like what is Instagram and how and why essentially should you use it. We're also going to discuss some successful tips for curating or building your post and profile, as well as strategies for engaging with your audience. And we're going to explore the benefits of using Instagram in addition to other platforms, and really sort of discuss how you can use Instagram as a complement to your group's Facebook profile. Many groups have one, and so this is a really nice complement to that. So we're going to dive into that. We're also going to be sharing resources, hopefully that you will find useful as you cultivate your own Instagram business account, which we'll be looking at specifically. So our hope today is that you will gain some helpful insight and inspiration and learn a little bit from each other and from our presenter. So our agenda essentially will look like this. We're going to essentially jump into a brief description about this topic in an effort to create sort of a foundation for our presenter and our subsequent conversation. Then we will transition over to Maria DiSalvo. She's the Marketing and Communications Manager at Walkway Over the Hudson. She's going to share her insights through a presentation for about 20 minutes or so. After that, we actually thought that PTNY would take a little bit of a magnifying glass to our own Instagram account and share our own experiences using Instagram and some of the tips that we've learned over the last 18 months or so to reach 11,000 plus followers and unlocking some of those additional superpower tools that come with increased followership on Instagram. And then we're going to allocate the remainder of our time to a curated discussion between you all and Parks and Trails for the questions that you signed up when you registered, and also with Maria, and then open up to a broader Q&A as time allows. Then just do a quick rundown of some closing items and some heads up reminders. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shayna, who's just going to run through some housekeeping.
Well, so before we begin, I just want to go over a few simple housekeeping points. So first, please add any questions and thoughts based on the presentation today to the chat so we can address that during the Q&A portion. If you are not familiar with Zoom, the chat feature, you can find it on the bottom bar of your screen. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties at all, please put that in the chat too. PTNY staff is monitoring and we can assist you there. Or send us an email if you do get kicked out. We will help you. Perhaps most importantly, please remain muted to reduce background noise and also to just help foster an enjoyable experience for everyone. So with that in mind, we welcome you to introduce yourself in the chat now. Please let us know your name, your group affiliation. We also encourage you, if you have one, to share your Instagram handle in the chat now. That way we can get on that later, but everyone can start following each other. So before I turn it over to Maria, I just want to take a moment to talk about why we chose this topic for our 5th workshop and what we've been hearing from friends. So in recent years, many nonprofits are learning the advantages of using social media to support organizational goals, such as marketing, event promotion, volunteer member recruitment, information sharing, etc. This has proven to be especially important during the pandemic when it's difficult to share information about programs, events, and meetings in person. So promoting the work being done in your park communities requires a larger digital footprint and social media presence, especially today. We know that many friends groups are familiar with Facebook and its benefits, but only a handful of groups are using Instagram regularly, despite the platform's usefulness and potential to friends groups. So what is Instagram? Why the hype? Instagram is a free social networking service built around sharing photos and videos. The platform is owned and operated by Facebook and has been around since 2010. And it has over 138 million users in the US. Like most social media apps, Instagram allows you to follow users that you're interested in. This creates a feed on your homepage that shows recent posts from everyone you follow. You can like those posts, you can comment on them, and you can share them with other people. Unlike other social media apps, Instagram is an image-driven storytelling platform. So this key component makes it the perfect place to showcase your beautiful park or site, and in turn entice people to visit. So the work that friends groups do for our parks and sites really lends itself well to this platform, to Instagram. Your programs, your volunteer events, and just the innate beauty of these public lands that you champion make ideal content for Instagram. This platform makes it easy to share your story and to bring people to your group. Another common theme that we've been hearing from friends, and we've touched on in all our Friends to Friends workshops so far, is that friends groups typically struggle to recruit young volunteers and members. So with 62% of users between the ages of 18 and 34, Instagram is the platform you want to be using to engage younger folks, a demographic that values nature and outdoor recreation. So now that we've touched on some basics, I would like to introduce you to our featured presenter, Maria DiSalvo. As we mentioned earlier, Maria is the Marketing and Communications Manager with Walkway Over the Hudson. Maria has a master's degree in interactive and social media from Quinnipiac University and previously worked in PR and social media for Broadway and off-Broadway productions. Maria is the mastermind behind the successful Walkway Over the Hudson Instagram profile, and we are grateful that she agreed to join us and share not only her professional insight on this topic, but also her firsthand experience running an Instagram account for a New York State park and historic site, Friends Group. So Maria, thank you so much for joining us today. We're grateful to have you here. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you can share yours.
All right. So thank you so much for everybody coming. And I'm going to start to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Am I muted still?
Yes, but I accidentally muted you. You're good now.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So get that off. Okay. So starting with kind of the basics of just Instagram in general. I see a lot of people that like don't have Instagram, so that's oops. Okay.
I only see a blank white screen. Are you seeing something else on yours?
Is anybody else?
Yes, all I'm seeing is blank white screen.
Do you see a blank white screen?
Yes.
Hang on.
You
All
got
right,
it.
how about now?
Yes.
Perfect.
All right. And we're back. Okay. So as Sheena mentioned, Instagram tends to skew a little younger in terms of an age range between 18 and 29. When I actually looked at the Walkways age range, our age range actually skews a little bit older. We actually have more 35 to 44 and 45 to 54 than a younger age range. So we're kind of trying to target that younger audience, just in terms of getting people of a different age range to come out to the parks. But Generation Z is most likely to hear about a new cause through social media. So that's kind of where we're putting our efforts into in terms of fundraising for our year-end appeal and our memberships and things like that, is sharing it on Instagram and sharing it on Facebook as well. But sharing it on Instagram is kind of where we're focusing at the moment. So here on the bottom, you can see our insights. The purple is men and the green tealish kind of color is women. So our insights show that we do get considerably more women just following us in general. I don't know why that is, but just is. And here's our age range here on the bottom. So the first thing is to have a business account so that you can see these insights. So if anybody has a personal Instagram account, you don't see this kind of insight unless you have a business account. So it tells you how many accounts you're reaching, how many accounts you're engaging with, your total followers, and then it's tracking your performance. This is for a 30-day period. So I pulled this a couple of days ago, but it'll tell you kind of what your range of engagement. And when you have an Instagram account with the business portion, you can also put in ads, you can do Instagram shopping, and you have a primary and secondary messaging inbox. So you can put people into different inboxes if you want. The next thing is optimizing your profile. And so here is just a screenshot of the walkways. We have our logo as the profile photo. We have a short bio just to tell people who you are. The link to the website. Also, the link to, this is our Poughkeepsie side. Obviously, we have 2 entrances, so we chose the Poughkeepsie side because our offices are on the Poughkeepsie side, and that's what we have as our address, but that will link to your maps on your phone. And then we also have the 2 points of contact here, message, and then this goes to our general Walkway email. So it's walkway@walkway.org. That way, if people aren't comfortable messaging through Instagram, they can always message you through email. So then here's a screenshot of our feed. And it's just really important to kind of create things that are visually compelling, because Instagram is totally about what your visuals look like. So, you know, a clear photo, easy to read text. If you're going to put text on a photo, something like here on the bottom, we have our walkway at night. It's easy that you can see from your feed when it's small, especially when it's on your phone. And videos get a lot more engagement just in general, and they're fun to watch. And when they're on your feed, that's just what we found, is they get a lot more engagement than in regular photo. So as far as captions, obviously it is it's a very visual platform. So your caption is equally as important. They can be up to 2,200 characters long. It's a really long caption, but it's recommended that you keep it between 130 to 150 unless you have like really something to say. And then the hashtags, which are here on the bottom, that's going to be how your post is found generally. So we always use Walkway Over the Hudson as a hashtag. We always use Highland, we always use Poughkeepsie, pretty much always use Hudson Valley. And then depending on the event, so this was a Walkway at Night post, we'll do hashtag Walkway at Night, hashtag Moonwalk. And you know, it all just depends on what your event is. They recommend that you use 7 to 11, but the most common is 1 to 3. So then here is on tagging and giving photo credit. And we have here, so this was a photo that this party of 5 mutts had posted on their Instagram, and I reached out to them and said, hey, we love your photo, can we post it? So we always ask before we just take a photo, because obviously it's someone else's photo, and you're going to tag them here. So that's what this little black tag is. And then here on the bottom, you can tag them so that other people know that it's their photo. And then when the tagged photo appears on your feed, it also goes here so you can see when other people tag you in photos. So engagement, the goal, of course, is for people to engage with you, but if you don't engage with other people, kind of, it has to be a two-way street. So always respond to comments and reshare posts. If people tag you in something, we always will, if it's a really great photo, we'll reach out to them and say, hey, this is a great photo. Can we use your photo? We like to feature photos from our visitors, and they like it too. They get really excited when we post something from their feed. And then we also will share them in stories. So up in the top, when you click on our logo, is a series of stories. And that's where usually we'll put things that we don't necessarily want to appear on our page forever, because they'll go away in 24 hours. And then the other piece would be to follow like accounts. So that's why I suggested to Shayna and Will that we create kind of a list of anybody that had an Instagram account so that we could all follow each other. We follow a lot of restaurants in the area because people are always asking, I'm coming to the Walkway, what's a good restaurant? And so we always follow all the restaurants and local celebrities and dignitaries. We had the Lieutenant Governor come to our ribbon cutting, and he tagged us in a post. We were able to tag him. It's kind of a mutual, especially when you tag someone like them, people who follow that person are going to also see your post. So here is all about highlights and stories. Like I said, the stories, they appear here when you click on the logo, and you can set a time for it to be like 5 seconds or 20 seconds, and they'll go away after 24 hours. Your highlight albums are here under your bio. So we have 3 right now. Any press, any printed, online, newspaper clipping, whatever, we will kind of take a screenshot of it and then put it into our stories so that people can go here and click on the link. They used to be an Instagram feature that you could swipe up. Now it's just a link here on the bottom. So where this says Mid-Hudson News is actually a clickable link, and it brings you right to that article. We created custom covers for ours so that it all looks uniform. You don't necessarily have to do that, but they do recommend that. And then here is just more on insights, impressions, and interactions. So this was on a particular post that we had done. It tells you how many accounts you've reached here, and then followers and non-followers. And this is where you're getting, where people are seeing your post from. So they're seeing it from their home pages, from the Explore tab. This is from your hashtags, and this is from somewhere else. And then it tells you on this post, we had 1,443 likes, this many shares into their stories or shared to another user. This is how many people save it just to view later. And then there was a lot of interaction on this one. There was a lot of comments. And then it tells you more about your profile and how many people went onto your website or how many people followed you as a result of that post. So I think the insights are really important. And that's why I just suggest that you have a business Instagram account. So then the next thing is to post at the right times. So Hootsuite actually did in an investigation kind of on what times are the best to post for different industries, and travel and tourism happens to be between 9 and 1 on a Friday. So if you're doing a post weekly, that could be your time that you're going to post. We generally post early in the morning, and Fridays are definitely a good day. And early in the morning just kind of, it just works for us, and we'll preset them to go at that time. So this is a new thing that we just kind of started doing, and that's creating a schedule for posting. And so this is our November schedule, and it has just kind of what the topic is going to be. And then each of these little circles denotes a separate social media platform. So we have our Facebook, we have Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and MailChimp that I manage. And so that's each day in November. It is subject to change. Obviously, if something happens and we need to post something a different day, it's not set in stone, but it's nice to have a plan kind of monthly that I can give to other staff members and say, do you have any suggestions? And people can make suggestions or whatever. And another thing that we just did as well is to put these at our pavilions. So we have the signs that say connect with the Great Connector, called Walkway the Great Connector. So it just kind of fit, and putting all of our social media handles here. And then we just had these signs made to put on sandwich boards, and you can scan the QR code, brings you directly to our Facebook, to your Instagram, and to our TikTok, so that any of your visitors can just hold their phones up and scan into the QR codes. And I believe that's it. So.
Right. So Maria, I know Shana's going to be putting up our presentation again. Will you really quickly just talk about QR codes? Because I think it's one of those things that sort of took off and then it went away and now it's back. So for QR codes, anyone's phone can just scan a QR code now. Is that the case? Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, my boss just came in and asked me a question.
No worries. I was just going to follow up with a question about QR codes. So can anyone with any, smartphone can just scan a QR code and it'll automatically work?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think people thought for a while that it was something special. You had to have an app or only certain types of phones worked with it.
If you just open your camera, it should bring you right to that. And there's a question, how do you create a QR code? We have a person who creates the QR code for us. I don't have that person's contact, but I can definitely get it. It's a person that creates it, I don't know, online, and they send it to us and we put it on our poster. So we did not create the QR code ourselves.
Maria,
Yes.
It's actually hi everybody, you're doing a great job, by the way. He's actually one of our ambassadors. He's just he's a volunteer, and he figured out, an ex-IBM person. So it isn't something we have to, there's a small fee, but he does that. So there's probably someone in your world that would know how to do that, I hope.
There you go. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Cool. I wanted to touch on that because I didn't want to bypass QR codes too quickly. And I know we have a couple of other questions that have been put into the chat. And I know Maria and Shana on the PTNY team are keeping track of those. So we'll definitely loop back. But I just wanted to thank you, Maria, for the presentation. There's a lot of good information there. And I appreciate that it was really clear, because I know sometimes Instagram can feel like a lot and social media can feel like a lot. So
Absolutely.
that was really nice. I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about PTNY's experience using Instagram. And two things I just wanted to mention really quickly before we sort of jump into our sort of case study about it is one of the things that we feel like really works about Instagram for Friends groups is that it's photo based essentially. So I think oftentimes people get bogged down in the idea of having to create narrative or a post for Facebook and do a lot of writing, and Instagram sort of takes that away from you and lets you just have to focus on a photo essentially, and let the photo or the video do the speaking for you. So it's just a really simple way to be able to create content really quickly and be able to put it out there. And I think the other thing that's really nice about it is a lot of friends groups, particularly for parks, but also sites as well, have members, supporters, visitors, volunteers who might be photo buffs and like to dabble in taking photos and in photography in general. And they're a great resource to be able to funnel photos to you to create content. So sometimes it's easy, you're on a walk or a stroll, you just take out your phone and say, wow, the foliage is great, or, here's a deer in a picturesque field, and it's a great way to sort of capture that moment. But other folks are out there too doing the same thing. And I think if you put out the request for that content, you'll certainly be rewarded. But just want to put those two plugs out there as we talk a little bit about what we've learned at PTNY, some of the tips and tricks and techniques that have worked for us. So really, this has been a concerted effort to grow our Instagram over the past 18 months or so, really developing it through trial and error. And we have found some strategies that have worked. So just as a snapshot, in February of 2020, we had 2,500 followers and we're averaging less than 30 likes per post. Fast forward to this month and we have over 11,500 followers and are averaging around 90 likes per post. And, I think it's something that we're very proud of, primarily because we're not communications professionals, essentially. And so we thought this would be a good way that, if we can share our methods about what we've discovered, it'll sort of give you that inspiration to say, what, if they can do it, if Will can do it, I can do it too. And so I just wanted to talk about some of those things. First is hashtags. And so it's essentially a special name for nothing more than a way to categorize information and make it searchable. So consider using them in a relevant and strategic way with your posts. When you use a hashtag in your post, it will appear on a page with all other posts across all of Instagram that use that same tag. So a lot of folks choose to follow a hashtag and it shows up in their feed, or they just kind of go down what we call the rabbit hole and will follow a hashtag that's interesting and see all the content that's related to it. So it's a great way to reach people that don't follow you yet. It's a great way to pull them into your bubble. It's really important to use hashtags that are relevant for the content that you're posting so that people can find the post based on what it is. So for example, PTNY uses many hashtags depending on the content, but generally we make a concerted effort to ensure that every post has similar hashtags like hashtag PTNY or hashtag Parks Trails New York. It's a great tool for our staff as well, because now we can find all photos, videos, and content that we have shared at any point in time. So sometimes you're thinking, oh, what did we post last spring? You can go back into your own feed and see what topics were relevant then and see if it's worth revisiting it or looking at it in a new way and bringing it forward to followers who maybe weren't with you at that point in time. Other hashtags that we use really depend on the type of post that it is, whether it's park or trail or advocacy or fundraising and development. We will include those hashtags. And as Maria mentioned earlier, a good rule of thumb is about 11 hashtags or so per post. Always err on the side of adding more hashtags than you think that you need. And again, it's okay to be sort of playful with your hashtags and create hashtags that are specific to you, your group, and your park or site. Again, as long as there's consistency, it really, again, makes it a searchable content, not only for your own purposes, but for your potential followers as well. Another way that hashtags can be really helpful is they put that social in social media. For example, PTNY and the Open Space Institute created the hashtag Parks Provide last year to use in all of our social media posts surrounding our joint advocacy event, Park Advocacy Day. So not only did both organizations use the hashtag to promote the event, we also we encourage all of our Park Advocacy Day participants and all of our followers to use the hashtag in their posts where they share stories and content about the benefit that parks have in their lives. So that joint effort allowed us to connect with new people, spread awareness about the event, and collect hundreds of positive stories and photos about the influence of parks that we could then use in that advocacy effort. And really, of course, it increased the number of followers that we could reach going forward. We also encourage you to use them for events. So for Isle of My Park Day participants, we use a similar hashtag so that all the photos from the day of the event can be that were posted to social media by volunteers or by park hosts were easily searchable. And then we can then pull out items from that and repost them later to create more content for ourselves. So we're using our own followers to give us more content for the future to then gain more followers. And so it's a really simple way, an impactful way to grow and curate your own Instagram account. As Maria mentioned, and she discussed the importance of engaging with followers. And we just want to really re-emphasize this because it really is important. It's the key way that we're able to grow our Instagram following is by engaging with others. So it does no good to put a post, just put post after post onto your platform and just hope that people will engage with your content when you can double your efforts and drastically expand your reach by engaging with partners and sharing content. So again, an example here is in April of 2020, at the start of the pandemic and under the threat of parks closing, we launched our Parks Pledge social media campaign to encourage outdoor users to pledge to stay local, be respectful, and follow safety guidelines in order to keep parks safe and open for everyone's use. In order to have this campaign be successful, we had to individually reach out to partners who do similar work, asking them to share our pledge on social media. So we reached out to agencies like New York State Parks and DEC, but we also directly reached out to friends groups, the Adirondack Council, Catskill Mountain Club, and some others as well. So we agreed then in turn to share content from our partners' accounts, and as a result, we're able to greatly expand the reach of all the participants, all the organizations that were engaged in that campaign. It really is a win-win situation that brings more followers to your page and encourages other pages to share your content in the future. A few other tips regarding engagement. If you are sharing someone's content, make sure to tag them in your post and use all those relevant hashtags. If someone tags you in their content or shares your content, make sure to acknowledge them by sending them a short thank you message. This really helps them feel good about sharing your content and that they'll be more inclined to share again. And it's really important to interact with your followers by answering their comments and even sharing their content. So for example, if someone posts a story at Moreau Lake State Park and tags the friends group page in their story, you can then post that immediately to your own story, essentially with the click of a button. So it's not time intensive and it is really user friendly and very straightforward. So don't be deterred by it sounding complicated because I promise it's not. One other thing we want to talk about is, that you will have to at some point possibly engage in negative comments or respond to them. So always remember that your group post on social media not only reflects your organization, but it also is a reflection ultimately of the state park system. So it may also be something that you want to think about the impact in the broader community. Be mindful of what you share on social media platforms. Posting or amplifying negative comments tends to foster an adverse culture. It's also important to know how to respond to negative social media comments. Your response really can affect your group's essentially image and reputation on the platform. So always respond respectfully and promptly to all comments, whether it's positive or negatively. Try to direct your negative conversations offline or to an email and really outside of the public eye as much as is possible. And stay poised, professional, and respectful in all exchanges. Remember that an appropriate response can shift a negative conversation to a positive one, while an inappropriate response can make things worse and unfortunately maybe encourage others to chime in and jump in as well, which is always a recipe for disaster. And lastly, I will say about engaging other pages on Instagram is to make sure that we follow each other. Friends groups can support one another and learn from each other. just by following one another and seeing what they're posting, seeing what events are going on and how you are working with your own volunteers. It really is an easy way to gain some inspiration. Earlier in this workshop, we asked you to share your Instagram handles, and we're going to be sending out a compiled list after the workshop. So those that wish to start a page and need to grow some followers right away or start following some accounts can do that. But make sure you're also following New York State Parks, DEC, PTNY, and other similar organizations. As Maria mentioned, restaurants in your community or local supporters, businesses that support your friends groups would be great folks to follow. And of course, don't forget about PTNY. Now that we've reached more than 10,000 followers, we have unlocked some features that allow us to share your content in a new and exciting way. Like, for example, if you have an event and you let us know, we can actually create some content that drives folks directly to your registration page. So it takes out those additional steps that may be a barrier for people to engage in your event or your programming. So make sure to tag us in your stories or send us an email if you prefer and let us know what you have lined up. And we'd really love to share that. That's one of the things that we are happy to do for friends groups at any point. And one of the things I want to mention is creating a link tree, which is essentially a way that we have found to be really successful to get more information into your Instagram page, into your bio. Because Instagram does not allow you to share links, like website links directly in your post, any link that you might want to share can exist in this link tree where you can direct followers by saying something as simple as, interested in registering for the event, see the link in bio. And that's where you would then put this link. Content can be added and removed from your link tree as you need. It's really very easy to use. It's free, essentially, to use this as well. And it's something that is very common on Instagram. So many followers would be used to seeing Linktree and seeing that suggestion of the link in bio to follow you, your information there. So anyway, just a little example of what that looks like for us. One other thing that we didn't necessarily specify, but I think is okay too, is, Parks and Trails New York as a nonprofit, we want to highlight parks and trails development and fundraising, something we perennially do. And we also need to talk about advocacy, but it's also okay just to have some fun content as well. And our Arthur Savage intern, Maria, is on the call today, and she's recently just been doing Wildlife Wednesday posts where it's just highlighting some of the furry friends that we have in our parks and our sites. She had a great post recently just about possums and some interesting facts there. And those posts do really well too, because our followers are interested in us, yes, but they're also interested in outdoor recreation and protecting New York's natural resources and those types of things. So it's another way to just provide some interesting content. And we encourage you, whether you're a site or a park, to take advantage of those things that are unique to your spot and shine a little spotlight on them and bring in some more folks. So that is a quick snapshot from us, but I would like to get into some Q&A. I know we have a number of questions have been posted in the chat, and so we definitely want to chip away at those. Maria, I know you had agreed to help answer some questions here as the resident expert on these topics. One thing right off the bat, I think you sort of alluded to it, but what's your suggestion for how often folks should be posting on social media, or I should say on Instagram in particular?
So on Instagram in particular, I would say we post probably 3 to 4 times a week. We have a very big following. So I think when you're starting out, maybe you do, a little bit less. Maybe you start out with once a week. And because it is a lot to kind of manage, your Facebook, your Instagram, and you have other things that you're obviously doing. So we post pretty much like 3 to 4 times a week is kind of the sweet spot.
Okay, got it. And so is there essentially, can you overpost? If you post too frequently, will you, give
Absolutely.
your followers burnout? Okay, yeah, tell us about that.
Absolutely. So I think, posting, it's why we don't do more than 1 post a day. If you're scrolling and you're constantly seeing Walkway Over the Hudson, Walkway Over the Hudson, Walkway Over the Hudson, you're gonna be like, why am I still seeing this? I'm gonna unfollow you.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think it goes both ways. If you don't post enough and you're not an active Instagram account, once again, why am I following you? So that's why I think that sweet spot is, and we try and plan for like every other day, we're going to post something, try and post something somewhere every day, whether it's Facebook, Instagram. We just started a TikTok. That's another,
Sure.
It's just another thing. And Twitter, not everything goes up on every platform. You kind of have to make that decision based on your audience, based on, like you said, with a link. If it's a link to an article, maybe you just post that on your Facebook page and you put it in your link tree, or, a really beautiful photo, like you want to share that as much as you can. So it's using your best judgment.
Okay. So I know Richard had posted a question in the chat. Just to clarify, ordinary posts on Instagram disappear after 24 hours. So that's not the case, right? A regular Instagram post lives on your page forever, essentially. Is that right?
Correct. So your posts that go onto your feed, you can archive a post if you want, if you are really promoting an event, and then you feel like, maybe I don't want this to be my whole feed for the rest of the Walkway's life. We'll archive a post, and it just means that it's hidden from the public, but you can still see it, and you can unarchive it if you wish. But just your stories are disappearing after 24 hours.
Okay, that makes sense. And so I know Andrew asked a question too about hashtags, so I want to cover that, and then we can kind of dive into some more practices on how to drive folks to more of the operational elements of the organization. But it's a good question. Why not 30 hashtags? Why not, as many hashtags as you can think of per post? Why 11 being sort of the sweet spot?
Honestly, it's too much if it's like you're too overexposed. And people, I think, find excessive hashtagging annoying. Just your general Instagram user is like, if that's the majority of your caption, it doesn't look good in terms of your caption being this long and the whole thing just being a bunch of words. Then what are you really saying? So I think that sweet spot of like 7 to 11 hashtags is just kind of where we stand.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're almost trying to find like this. So Instagram's a visual platform, but you also need to have this like visual balance in the caption too, right? It needs to be a sort of like an equal amount of caption to hashtag amount.
So we separate, like there's the caption, and then you hit return, and then you have your hashtags there on the bottom. It's just kind of a more visually pleasing caption, and kind of separates your caption. And then, you have to have a hashtag, at least, 1 to 3, so that people who are not following you are going to also see your post.
Got it. Okay, and so I know just one other thing about hashtags is, and Jeff had posted this into the chat, explain again about tracking down existing hashtags. So, if you're about to start an Instagram account, again, I think we're hitting home this idea, Maria, that you want to have like a hashtag or two for your Parker site that's pretty consistent. But then how do you go about finding another 8 or 9 hashtags? Do you just look at other accounts, or do you make them up, or what's your suggestion?
So I think it depends. For example, like we have our event Walktoberfest. That's our event. We created that hashtag. So when people come to Walktoberfest, we update our signs that say, use the hashtag Walktoberfest in your posts this weekend, or Mayfest, the same thing. So if you have an event at your site that is a name, that's not just, your site name, you're creating that hashtag yourself, but you also have to tell people to use it. in terms of existing hashtags, I feel like there's always, like, those hashtags always exist. There's hashtag, you know, anything you can think of, someone's used it.
Mhm.
So if you go and search hashtag Poughkeepsie, you're like, oh, okay, that's how many people have hashtag Poughkeepsie in the last 30 days. That's a good one to put in, you know, to put in ours because we're in Poughkeepsie.
Mhm.
You know, there's really nothing. It's any word you can think of, you can hashtag. It doesn't.
Right. Yeah, I think we found that sometimes too with, you know, there are a number of state parks that have really phenomenal waterfalls. And for whatever reason, people love looking at pictures of waterfalls. And so whenever we make a post highlighting one of those parks and we use the hashtag waterfalls, it tends to do a little bit better because folks are following that hashtag. They're, again, kind of going down the rabbit hole, and they happen to see our post and say, oh, you know, wow, it's a great photo, and then, you know, like it essentially. So, so that's really helpful. I did want to jump into a couple of these other questions. You know, and I think you alluded to a little bit, Maria, but just kind of tell us a little bit more about membership recruitment. How do you feel like, you know, folks can really tangibly do some membership recruitment through Instagram?
So we just creating kind of visually compelling graphics, really. We are going to put up, I believe it's going up on Friday. We're going to put a membership post up, and just going to encourage people to become a Walkway member and direct them to our site. We don't have a link tree, so that's actually an interesting point that you brought up, but usually we direct people, just say, please visit our website. You know, you can become a member right on our website. So that's not an issue. And, you know, you have a follower base just by being a New York State park. So, you know, just kind of remember that you don't have to, you know, you should have an existing kind of follower base. You just have to create the Instagram account to get it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the beauty of you know, supporting parks and historic sites is they speak for themselves in some ways. So you're really just
you already know the name.
Right. Yeah. So essentially, you know, just to distill down what you're saying is you're just kind of trying to sell what people want to see. That's what. How are they going to engage with your park or site? What is their experience going to be like? That's how you hook them in. Does that sound right?
Sure. And I mean, we advertise our merch on Instagram. We just got, these are our new ornaments. Look like this, they're really cute. We sold out of them. We sold out of them in like 4 days. We posted on our Instagram. We sent out a mailing through our MailChimp. We are sold out of ornaments. We don't have them. So I think that's, you know, it shows you what, you know, Instagram and what Facebook as well, because we did post it to everything. But just shows you kind of what you can do with merchandise. This morning we posted about our railroad spikes that we have, and we're trying to sell those, and, you know, great gift for the holidays, and just kind of bring that in. And you know, there's just so much you can do with it.
So I had another question too, and actually Linda Cooper, who's on the call today, she's the regional director for Taconic region. She asked this question, which I think is a good one, and it's something that PTNY struggled with a little bit. So everyone that follows you, should you follow them back? Is there a limit to that? Do you have any parameters? You know, you should only follow another organization, or, you know, how do you make those determinations?
We don't follow everybody that follows us, just because it's a lot of, you know, just random visitors. And so we kind of keep it to organizations or, you know, local dignitaries. If Mark Molinaro, he follows us, we follow him back. Someone like that. So we don't follow, you know, every visitor that follows us, because, you know, it's not necessary. Yeah,
it can be a lot of work.
And that would be, it would be a lot of work. It would just be a constant following, following a person. I mean, we have 20,000 followers. That's, it's a lot of people to then also be following. And that also limits what you're seeing on your feed. You want to engage with your followers and you want to engage with the people that you are also following. So you want to be able to see, like, parks and trails. We want to see your photo. If you follow too many people, you're just going to be scrolling forever. And, who has time for that?
Right. Yeah, I think we found that there were, let's say, like a half dozen avid nature photographers who were constantly tagging us in their posts. And, after we saw their post a couple of times, we looked at their account a few times, we thought, this person has quality content, it's sort of in line with the types of things that we've been putting forward. And so we followed them essentially as individuals, but we really sort of made that same thought process, Maria, like, well, is this a partner organization? Do we want to be seeing what they're posting? Is that beneficial to us as a way? So I think that's a really good way for folks who may be thinking about either growing their Instagram or building one for the first time. Don't follow everybody. Think about who is going to be advantageous to your own account, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and definitely, if we see a person who is tagging us more than once, they're a constant walkway person. We have people that walk the bridge every day. And they walk the bridge, different times. And sometimes we'll get a sunset photo from them or a sunrise photo. And, like I said, visitors like when you share their content. So anybody that we see, who's constantly tagging us in something, we're going to follow them because we want to see more. But if it's someone, who came and visited us from, Michigan, and they posted once about us, we're not going to follow them back, but we hope they follow us. But
yeah, those people from Michigan, I'm just kidding, everyone. Shayna's from
That's
Michigan.
Why I said that, Shayna.
That's okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. I know we're getting a little bit close. We're getting close to 5. I don't want to take too much time, but I do have a really important question that a couple of people have asked. And Maria, I'm hoping you can shed light on it because I have my assumptions, but that doesn't make it necessarily an informed thought, right? So what's the difference between the users of Instagram versus Facebook versus Twitter? I mean, what sort of sets Instagram apart, for our purposes as friends groups?
I think in general, Instagram skews younger, number one. And it's just a lot more visual. You can post it like in that square, Instagram classic post, and you can't do a link. So like I said, with anything that, we're sharing a news article, we're going to share that on Facebook where you can click to read more. And same with Twitter. Twitter we use basically for news articles, and that's really about it. Instagram is really just your nice pictures and your if you have an event coming up and you're going to share the poster for that event, you want to make sure your graphics are really clear and visually pleasing, and it's just all about that visual.
Yeah, I think that's again, I think it's a nice way to sort of tie off this workshop, because that's the beauty of why Instagram works for all of our parks and sites ideally. And I think at PTNY we've struggled with Twitter because the content is just so fast and furious. You have to be on top of it all of the time, and it's just something that we haven't really found the niche for yet. And so, I want to sort of stress, I think a couple of people reached out to us and thought Instagram is the same thing as Twitter. Clearly they're not, right? Very different platforms. But, do you feel like Facebook is sort of the community bulletin board of social media at this point? Or, and the demographic is older? Or I guess my question is, how do you interplay Facebook and Instagram? Do you keep them completely separate, or do you put similar content on both and hope they reach different audiences?
We definitely do similar, I would say, between Facebook and Instagram, just because our Facebook and Instagram are linked. So most of the time, unless I don't want something from Instagram to go to Facebook, it will go to Facebook automatically. But we do certain things we will market especially for Facebook, for the size of a Facebook post versus the size of an Instagram post. I mean, in terms of Facebook, we do Facebook events, create a Facebook event and for any of our events. So we have Holiday on the Walkway coming up, and we create a Facebook event for that, and we invite people, and we advertise it on our Instagram, but you're going to send people to our Facebook for more information, because once again, that Facebook or that Instagram caption can only be so long. So anything with a really long description, you're not going to put that on Instagram, because someone's not going to read that on Instagram. They're going to read it on Facebook while they're sitting at their computer, where they can click a link and see more. So I think, once again, it's at your own discretion of saying, do I want to look at this on my phone? Is Instagram, you're mainly looking at it on your phone.
Okay. I think that's a good tip. And so I don't think I could have said it better myself. So I'm going to leave it there. Maria, thank you so much for your insights and the presentation.
Of course.
I learned a couple of things. I hope other folks did too. And I'm actually going to turn it over to Shayna to take it home for us and do the wrap up.
Thanks, Will, and thanks everyone. I just want to pull up this one last slide because it has some nice information on it, including our emails, which we want you all to reach out to us, so that's important. But I just want to say thank you so much again for joining us. This was a fun workshop. I hope you found it informative. I know that it wasn't fully comprehensive, but we touched on a lot. So if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out at any time. A few items to share with you all. First, we will be sending a follow-up email in the upcoming days. This will have a recording of today's workshop and a link to our website where we'll put other resources that you can access that will help you keep going with cultivating your Instagram. So if you would like to connect with Maria or another attendee, please email someone on the PTNY team. Me or Will have our email address there. We can help you. We'd be happy to connect you with anyone you need. Additionally, we would love to see you at our next workshop in this Friends from Friends series. It is scheduled for Thursday, December 16th at 4 p.m. The topic right now is to be determined, but we will let you know as soon as we have that scheduled. Next, and perhaps most importantly, I want to remind you still, if you've been for the last couple workshops, we've said this, but the application period for the 7th round of the Park and Trail Partnership Grant is still open for another week or so. The deadline for application is November 30th, but please consider applying even if you currently have an active grant. Information can be found on our website, and we will also include it in the follow-up email next week. So please, I said this before, but please stay in touch. We cannot emphasize enough that we are here for friends always. That is part of our job, and it's one thing we really love about this job. So we would be happy to share and promote your upcoming events on Instagram and your programs, and answer any questions you might have about starting or curating your social media. And if you're not already, please give us a follow on all platforms, and we will make sure to do the same now that we have all your handles. So with that, thank you again. We wish you a great Thanksgiving holiday. Have a good rest of your evening, everyone.